Space whales? Nope, rather deal with devils. Chapter 42, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. With the rewards of the bounties collected, and obviously having a group of quintuplets with me now, I realized with Mash and Mami included, too, I already have a pretty decent group, honestly. I thought before shaking my head as Mami and I worked together to make a teleportation glyph to carry the quintuplets with us back home. Once we teleported back home to my room, Mami helped me move them into another of the spare rooms Sona had, and I realized that I needed to tell Sona I picked up a group of 5 vampire familiars. But there was one thing I needed to do now for the girls. You 5 are blood-starved right now, so let's get some life force in you, I said, taking off my shirt as I pulled Nino into my lap, making her flush and look at me with some anger at how I manhandled her. I ignored her indignation as I used some magic to reinforce my fingernails so I could cut my neck slightly, so blood welled up quickly. And as the rich scent of my magically potent blood hit her nostrils, her angry flush became a ruddy flush of need as she instinctively licked the blood seeping from the cut and shuddered at the delightful feeling I imagined. Good girl. Just suck on the cut. I whispered into her ear, and she went pliant on my lap as she drowsily sucked the bloody cut I left on my neck, while I felt her fangs gently needily pressing against my neck as she desired to get more, but my soothing hands running down her pinkish hair made her too docile to bite into me. Now, how do I feed the other girls blood without them biting the shit out of me? Should I just put a cut wrist in their mouth? I thought before I got an idea, as I continued to feed Nino into a blood-drunk stupor, as my dense magical energy bloated her pitiful magical stores as a newborn vampire. Nino was the only girl who was still awake as the other 2 of the quintuplets had collapsed beside their other 2 siblings in the bed they were all sharing, and soon enough the blood I gave Nino and the knowledge that they were safe for now made her nod off with her gently nibbling on my skin as she arms and legs were wrapped around me like a koala. I gently laid Nino down with her sisters, and then I cut one of my fingers bloody, so I could stick them into the mouths of the other 4 girls' mouths and let them suck the blood from the bleeding finger to tide them over until tomorrow, so we could make a contract in person. You did a good thing taking them in, Mami whispered into my ear as she hugged me from behind, as I finally pulled out my finger from Mika's mouth, who whimpered and pouted at losing the delightful source of blood from her mouth. I wryly smiled and patted Mami's hip behind me as she let go so I could wrap an arm around her waist. I pulled her to Masha's room as I laid out my plans for going to the next world. I have a very damned good way of killing things with my mystic of death perception, so now we need to strengthen our bodies as best as we can, while still remaining human, as I don't plan on turning into a devil or another supernatural race. I spoke with Mash, nodding. Indeed. Earth is the planet of human order. Supernatural species will always rely on and need humanity to exist on Earth. But how do you plan on us strengthening our bodies? Mash questioned earnestly, and I had to hold in a coo at how adorable the eggplant hair-colored girl was. But after that, I took a breath and spoke frankly. I plan to go to the world of Rising of the Shield Hero and take the place of Naofumi during the summoning. And after being summoned, I plan to give you the legendary shield while I go for the staff/cane vassal weapon to enhance my magic. I was also up for getting the legendary shield or spear if I could, because I was very well aware of their much higher growth potential in pushing people to divine status. But the vassal weapons weren't Yandra's like the legendary weapons, which would shock and hurt you if you tried to wield a different weapon. But it would just depend on how my insertion into the world worked, as I didn't know if I could actually intercept the summoning process to take the place of Naofumi, let alone take the place of the sword or spear wielder. And honestly, I didn't feel bad for taking Naofumi's place, as he, for the majority of the series, was a wreck of insecurities due to that false charge that Malty threw on his ass for assaulting her. I was doing him a favor by not having the world's fate on his shoulders. So for the next couple of hours, I had Mash and Mami watch the Rising of the Shield Hero anime so they could get an idea of the setting, and Mash, beyond anything else, had one very good damned point. Could I feed noble phantasms into the shield to get their effects and keep the shield? She whispered, and I pointed out how Naofumi could copy shields and even feed them into his shield while leveling up those shields to keep their passive stats and special abilities. Masha's hands balled into a fist, and she took a deep breath and bowed her head towards me with clear desperation in her voice as she begged me. Master. No, Jake, please, I beg you, take me there and get the shield for me. My shield that was the round table of Camelot could be fed into the shield, and I could reawaken its power without Galahad being within my soul. No longer was she somewhat distantly calling me master and treating me with a bit of deference as a servant. Now she appealed to me as sincerely as she could. And as proof that she had accepted me, I felt the seal of Solomon's binding between us strengthen. Wait, did I level up my bond level with Mash? I thought blankly as I patted Mash's head, and I spoke sincerely. Mash, I swore with your own promise to serve me faithfully that I would make you stronger than you were previously. So we will leave in a few days after I take a bit of a rest and get everyone settled in, and lastly, so I can speak with Sona.